helped Jesus in many different ways.
I oni su na mnoge različite načine pomagali i asistirali Isusu.
And as soon as I can get down there, we'll study it. I don't know why it goes clear back to the beginning every time.
I ne znam zašto mi stalno skače napred, pa moram se spuštati dole. Sad,
But computers do a lot of things I don't understand. They're like people.
I kompjuteri rade mnoge stvari koje ja ne razumijem, ponekad su poput ljudi.
The only thing about the difference is you can turn the computer off.
Jedina stvar je da ti možeš kompjutera isključiti. Amen.
In Luke chapter 10, we begin reading in verse 38 and read through verse 42.
Evanđelje po Luki poglavlje 10, počet ćemo čitati u stihu 31 i 32, kada je 38 do 42. Biblija kaže: I dogodilo se dok su putovali da je on ušao u neko selo, a neka žena imenom Marta primila ga u svoju kuću. A ona je imala sestru zvanu Marije, koja je sjela do Isusovih nogu i slušala riječ njegovu. A Marta je bila zauzeta oko mnogog posluživanja, pa mu je prišla i rekla: Gospodine, zar ti ne mariš što me sestra moja ostavila samu posluživati? Reci joj stoga da mi pomogne. A Isus je odgovorio rekavši: Marta, Marta, brineš se i uznemiruješ zbog mnogo čega, ali je jedno potrebno. A Marija je odabrala onaj dio koji joj se neće oduzeti.
Now, the family that is introduced to us here
Obitelj koja nam je ovdje predstavljena
lived in a village called Bethany.
živjela je u naselju ili selu koje se zove Betanija.
If you were to go to Jerusalem and you would visit Jerusalem today,
I ako bi vi išli danas posjetiti Jeruzalem,
you could leave Jerusalem and go around what is called the Mount of Olives.
I mogli bi, kada odlazite iz Jeruzalema, došli bi na planinu koja se zove Maslinska gora.
And about 2 miles from Jerusalem, on the other side of that mountain, is a little village called Bethany.
I oko 3 kilometra iza te Maslinske gore nalazi se to malo selo koje se zove Betanija.
That village still actually is in existence today.
I to selo u stvari još i danas postoji.
I went to that village on my visits to Israel.
I ja sam otišao u to selo kad sam bio u posjeti Izraelu.
The first time I went there, I gathered my family around me when I got home to explain some of the trip.
I ja sam, kad sam bio prvi puta tamo, ja sam se vratio, kupio svoju obitelj da im nešto objasnim u vezi mog putovanja.
At that time, my youngest girl was just a little blonde thing.
I u to vrijeme moja kćerka je bila jedna mala plavuša.
And she was sitting there listening to me explain where I had been.
I ona je tamo slušala i kako sam ja objašnjavao gdje sam bio.
And I mentioned that I had been to Bethany, the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus.
I ja sam tamo spomenuo da sam bio u Betaniji gdje su dom imali Marija, Marta i Lazar.
And she said, Eddie, were they home?
I onda je pitala, tata, jesu li oni bili doma?
I said, no, they were not. They'd been very old if they'd have been home.
Ja sam rekao, ne, morali bi biti jako stari da bi bili doma.
This is actually stated as the home of Martha.
I u stvari to je bio dom Marte.
Mary, her sister, and Lazarus lived there as well.
I isto tako tamo su živjeli Marta, njezina sestra i Lazar.
Whenever the village is mentioned in the Bible, it's always associated with Mary and Martha.
I uvijek kad se to selo spominje, uvijek se tome pridružuje Marija i Marta.
Which means that they were no doubt very important figures in the village.
I nema sumnje da su oni bili vrlo važne osobe u naselju.
It's referred to as Martha's home.
I to se odnosi na Martin dom.
That perhaps could mean that she was the oldest of the 3 children.
Što bi moglo značiti da ona bila najstarija od troje djece.
Maybe the parents were no longer alive.
Možda roditelji više nisu bili živi.
So she was in the care of taking care of the property.
I ona je možda se brinula za cijelo domaćinstvo.
Or Martha could have been a widow.
Ili je Marta mogla biti udovica.
And welcomed her brother and sister into the home to live.
I onda je ugostila svoju brata i sestru da s njom žive.
But these three people were part of the first followers of Jesus.
Ali to troje ljudi bili su taj dio prvih Isusovih sljedbenika.
And there's to be something very special about them as followers of Jesus.
I vidim nešto vrlo posebno kod njih kao Isusovih sljedbenika.
Each one of them had a completely different personality than the other.
Svaka od njih je imala potpuno drugačiju osobnost od druge.
For instance, Martha was a woman of hospitality.
Na primjer, Marta je bila žena gostoprimstva.
Bible says she received Jesus into her home.
Biblija kaže da ona primila Isusa u svoj dom.
She cared for Jesus and no doubt other saints in a practical way.
I nema sumnje, ona se brinula za Isusa na jedan praktičan način.
She was very busy in the home,
Ona je bila jako marljiva u domu,
which evidently means that she kept her home very neat and very clean.
i što znači da je ona držala svoj dom vrlo u redu i čistim.
She seemed to be concerned about details in the home.
I ona je vjerojatno bila zabrinuta za svaki detalj u tom domu.
No doubt her home was spotlessly clean.
I nema sumnje, njezin dom je bio bez mrlja.
Martha seemed to be a very self-confident person,
I čini se da je Marta bila jako samopouzdana osoba.
sufficient to be the manager of her own home.
I izgledalo kao da je bila tamo u vodstvu nad cijelim domom.
She seemed to be one of strong convictions,
Ona je bila jedna žena iz snažnih presvjedočenja
and she was admired by her community.
i bila je priznata od svoga društva i
So she
okoline.
seemed to have a very good testimony.
I vjerojatno je imala vrlo dobro svjedočanstvo.
And her greatest characteristic was to always invite Jesus into her house.
I njena najbolja karakteristika je bila to da je uvijek pozvala Isusa u svoj dom.
Now, Mary was a little different than her sister.
Marija je bila malo drugačija od svoje sestre.
While she was given specific responsibilities,
Njoj je dana jedna posebna odgovornost.
when Jesus was in their home,
Kad je Isus bio u njihovom domu,
she kind of neglected everything else.
ona je zanemarila sve ostalo.
The Bible says that she would sit at Jesus' feet and listen to his words.
Biblija kaže da ona sjela do Isusovih nogu i slušala njegove riječi.
So she seemed to have a hunger for spiritual knowledge.
I izgleda da je ona imala glad za duhovnom spoznajom.
Jesus actually said that Mary made the best of the choices.
Isus je u stvari rekao da je Marija odabrala najbolji dio, najbolji izbor.
She was a giver of costly things.
Ona je bila ona koja je davala te primala.
Ona je dala dragocjenost.
Ona je davala te, odnosno dala je tu dragocjenu stvar.
Mary took her savings, for instance.
Ona je, na primjer, uzela svu
She
svoju
bought the
štuđevinu.
most expensive perfume,
Ona je imala taj jednu dragocjenu pomast
and she used it to anoint the head and the feet of Jesus.
i ona je to iskoristila da bi oprala glavu i noge Isusu.
So Mary was completely different than her sister.
Marija je bila potpuno drugačija nego njena sestra.
Then here you have Lazarus.
I ovdje imamo i Lazara.
You learn about him in the 11th chapter of John,
I o njemu smo naučili u 11. poglavlju Evanđelja po Ivanu.
and also in the first 17 verses of chapter 12 of John.
I isto tako prvih 17 stihova u poglavlju 12. Evanđelja po Ivanu.
He seemed to be the youngest of the three.
Izgleda on bio najmlađi od to troje.
It is said that Lazarus was a friend of Jesus.
I kaže se da Isus bio Isusov prijatelj.
He chose an awful good friend.
On je izabrao dobrog prijatelja. Amen.
There was a closeness between Jesus and Lazarus.
Postojala je bliskost između Lazara i Isusa.
And Lazarus also sat at the table and took meals with Jesus.
Isto tako Lazar je sjedio i jeo zajedno sa Isusom.
And listened to Jesus as he would teach them.
I slušao je Isusa kad ga je on poučavao.
He was actually the subject of one of the most startling miracles Jesus ever performed.
I on je u stvari bio subjekt najvećeg čuda koje je Isus ikada učinio.
He raised Lazarus from the dead.
On je uskrsnuo Lazara iz mrtvih.
And that was actually one of the things that threatened the life of Jesus.
I to je nešto što je ugrozilo Isusov život.
The religious authorities in Jerusalem, when they heard about that,
I religijski autoriteti u Jeruzalemu kad su oni čuli za to,
they were so angry they actually wanted right then to destroy Jesus.
I oni su bili toliko ljuti da su odmah htjeli ubiti Isusa.
And we are told in John's Gospel, chapter 12, that from that time the elders began to seek the life of Christ.
I reče nam je u 12. poglavlju da od toga su te starješine izraelske tražile način da oduzmu njemu život.
See, what they did is so typical often of religion.
I ono što su oni napravili je jako tipično i često za religiju.
Religion will hate you because you do something good.
Religija će te mrziti zato što radiš nešto dobro.
Amen. Amen.
We have religions right now in our world that are doing that very thing.
I imamo upravo religiju u našem svijetu koja upravo to radi.
They don't want to help anybody,
Oni ne žele nikome pomoći.
and they don't want anybody else helping people.
I oni ne žele da netko drugi pomaže ljudima.
And if you help somebody, they're angry and they want to do away with you.
I ako ti pomažeš nekome, oni su ljuti i žele ti nauditi.
One of the things that as you study these three followers of Jesus impresses me
I jedna stvar koja me impresionira kada proučavam ove troje ljudi,
is that Jesus was always welcome in that home.
to da Isus uvijek bio dobrodošao u taj dom.
Amen. Amen.
Is Jesus welcome in your home?
Je li Isus dobrodošao u tvoj dom?
If you knew Jesus was coming to your house today,
I ako bi znao da Isus dolazi u tvoj dom danas,
would you have to hurry to change some things?
je li bi se požurio da nešto promijeniš?
Maybe put away some of the reading material you wouldn't want him to see?
I da nešto možda maknuo što ne želiš da on vidi?
Maybe some of the movies that you watch on your television, you'd have to hide them.
Ili nekakav film koji ti gledaš na televiziju, da li bi morao sakriti pred njim?
Or you'd have to start rapidly cleaning up the place.
Ili bi trebao rapidno očistiti cijelo mjesto?
You know, I believe that we should live our lives
Ja vjerujem da bi mi trebali živjeti naše živote
in such a way that Jesus is always welcome there.
na način da je Isus uvijek dobrodošao tamo.
Amen. Amen.
And I think that we as Christians ought to recognize that Jesus is in our home.
I mi bi trebali uvijek kršćani prepoznati da Isus jest u našem domu.
Amen. Amen.
And because he is, we ought to not only recognize his presence, but honor him.
I ne samo da on živi i da treba biti u našem domu, nego da ga mi i u našem domu častimo.
So that we would live our lives
Tako da bi mi živjeli naše živote
in such a way that we recognize his ever presence with us.
tako da bi mi uvijek prepoznali da je on uvijek nazočan s nama.
In the 11th chapter of the Gospel of John, a crisis came to this home.
I u 11. poglavlju Evanđelja po Ivanu vidimo da jedna kriza dolazi u taj dom.
At that time, Jesus was not there.
I u to vrijeme Isus nije bio tamo.
He and his disciples were in another area of the Holy Land.
I Isus i njegovi učenici bili su u jednom drugom dijelu svete zemlje.
Messengers were sent to Jesus,
I poslani su glasnici k Isusu,
asking him to come quickly to their home
tražeći od njega da se brzo vrati tome domu.
because Lazarus was seriously ill.
Zato jer je Lazar bio ozbiljno bolestan.
Jesus deliberately delayed his arrival there
I Isus je
Namjerno.
za njega
Namjerno.
Isus je namjerno rekao da neće ići.
so that by the time he got there, Lazarus was already dead.
I kad je on tamo došao, i Lazar je već bio mrtav.
Already dead for 4 days.
On je već bio mrtav 4 dana.
So there was a crisis in that home.
I znači dogodila se kriza u tome domu.
The delay of Jesus getting there brought confusion to those sisters.
I to što je Isus odgodio da dođe taj dom, to je zbunilo te
So
sestre.
when Jesus arrived, he found them in deep sorrow along with their friend.
I onda kad se Isus vratio, on ih je našao u dubokoj žalosti zajedno s prijateljima.
It was a custom in those days when someone died to enter into a period of mourning.
I u to vrijeme običaj je bio kad neko umre da ima jedan period žaljenja.
So when Jesus arrived, everything was in confusion.
I kad se Isus vratio, sve je bilo u jednoj vrsti smetenosti.
Martha heard the words of Jesus
Marta je čula Isusove riječi
and kind of forgot them for a moment
i na trenutak zaboravila.
and found herself in a hopeless feeling with great despair.
I onda se našla u jednoj beznačajnoj situaciji.
And Mary, when she recognized that Jesus had arrived,
I kad je Marija prepoznala, shvatila da se Isus vratio,
was actually full of words of confusion and sorrow.
ona je bila puna riječi zbunjenosti i žalosti.
She even suggested to Jesus
Ona je čak dala sugestiju Isusu
that her brother would still be alive if he had gotten there in time.
da bi njezin brat još uvijek bio živ da je on došao na vrijeme.
Sometimes it's too easy for us to misunderstand how God is at work.
I ponekad je za nas jako lako da ne razumijemo kako Bog radi.
You should never be surprised if God interrupts your plans.
I nemoj biti nikada iznenađen kada Bog poremeti tvoje planove.
You may plan out your whole life,
Možda ti si isplanirao cijeli život
and God may overnight change all of your plans.
i Bog kroz noć može promijeniti sve tvoje planove.
Amen.
I remember when I went to pastor the last church I was a pastor of.
I ja se sjećam kad sam otišao kod pastora, gdje sam ja bio pastor zadnjih godina.
I just said to myself, now this is going to be the last place I ever go.
Ja sam rekao, pa to će biti mjesto gdje ću ja zadnje ići.
This is a beautiful part of America.
To je prekrasan jedan dio Amerike.
I'm just going to preach here until I die.
I ja ću tamo propovijedati sve dok ne umrem.
The beautiful mountains,
Prekrasne planine.
fish in the streams.
Znači, ribe u tim brzim rijekama.
This, not only preach but enjoy the surroundings.
Ne samo propovijedati, nego malo uživati u okolini.
And I even bought me a motorcycle.
I čak sam kupio motor.
And I would ride the motorcycle through the mountains.
I onda sam vozio motor po planinama.
All the ladies in our church got mad at me because their husbands started buying motorcycles.
Jedna žena je bila u crkvi ljuta na mene jer je njezin muž onda kupio motor.
And I was just settling in to have a enjoyable experience the rest of my life.
Ja sam samo htio da bi imao prekrasno iskustvo do kraja života.
And things went well for 20 years.
I stvari su išle dobro 12 godina.
And then God tapped me on the shoulder and said, I got something else for you to do.
I onda me Bog potapšao po ramenu i rekao, ja imam nešto drugo da napraviš.
I want you to go out on the mission fields of the world.
I ja želim da ti ideš svuda na misijska polja po svijetu.
And I want you to do world missions work.
I ja želim da ti radiš taj misijski posao.
I said, but the Lord, I'd have to give up my house.
Ali ja sam rekao, pa ja bi morao onda ostaviti svoj dom.
I have to give up a guaranteed salary.
I onda bi trebao napustiti tu sigurnu zaradu.
And I have to give up the car the church provides for me.
Onda bi ja morao ostaviti taj auto koji crkva se pobrinula za mene da imam.
I'd have to start all over.
I onda bi morao početi sve iznova.
And you know, God don't speak to you out loud, but it kind of was like he said, so what?
I Bog ne govori glasno, ali čuo sam kao, pa što onda?
If I want you to start over, that's my business.
Ako ja želim da počneš iznova, to je moja stvar.
And so now I have been in over 65 countries of the world.
Ja sam sada već bio u 65 zemalja po svijetu.
I have ridden on one airline, United, over 3 million miles.
I ja sam napravio s jednom tom zrakoplovnom kompanijom 3 miliona milja.
And I didn't plan any of the work that I'm now doing.
I nisam ja planirao niti jedan posao koji sada radim.
God planned it and interrupted me and he said, you're my man.
I Bog je to isplanirao i rekao, ti si moj čovjek.
Amen.
I said, I'm just a little preacher. I'm not even a Bible scholar.
Ja sam rekao, pa ja sam samo mali propovjednik, nisam čak niti biblijski stručnjak.
But God interrupted my plan.
I onda je Bog poremetio moje planove.
Amen.
As I knew he was interrupting my plans,
I kad sam vidio da je Bog promijenio moje planove,
I thought I need to prepare someone to become the pastor of this church.
i ja sam mislio, pa moram onda ja nekog pripremiti da bude pastor te crkve.
Well, there was a young man in our church, young married couple,
I bio tamo jedan mladić u crkvi koji je bio mladi bračni par.
and he was at the time finishing up his Bible college classes
I on je u to vrijeme završavao svoju biblijsku školu.
and attending our church.
I dolazio u našu crkvu.
He told me frankly, he said, my goal is to get rich.
I on mi je rekao, došao do mene, rekao, moj cilj je postati bogat.
I want to live in a mansion.
Ja želim živjeti u palači.
And he said, I want to drive an expensive sports car.
Želim voziti skupocijeni sportski auto.
That was his goal in life.
To je bio njegov cilj u životu.
That's what he was going to do.
I to je on htio napraviti.
And one day I was preaching,
I jedan dan ja sam propovijedao.
and he came forward and surrendered his life to Christian service.
I on je išao naprijed i predao svoj život na kršćansku službu.
Oh, I thought, wonderful. I've got a prospective pastor for this church.
I ja sam rekao, prekrasno, ja imam jednog perspektivnog pastora za ovu crkvu.
So I put him on salary as one of our associates.
I ja sam ga stavio u službu kao jednog svog suradnika.
His wife was our secretary.
Njegova žena je bila sekretarica.
And for the next 5 years, they began to prepare themselves for the Lord's work.
I onda sljedećih 5 godina oni su se počeli pripremati za gospodnji posao.
Well, I thought the preparation was so he could become the pastor of the church and I could go to the mission field.
I ja sam mislio, to će biti priprema za njega, da bude pastor, da ja mogu otići na misijsko polje.
So we have a mission conference in our church.
I onda smo imali misijsku konferenciju u našoj crkvi.
And one night he comes forward crying to the altar.
I ja sam vidio, on je jednu večer izašao naprijed i plakao je tu naprijed na oltaru.
And I said, why are you coming forward?
I ja sam ga pitao, zašto si izašao naprijed?
Oh, he said, God calling me to be a missionary to Chile, South America.
I on je rekao, i Bog me pozvao da bude misionar u Južnoj Americi, u Čileu.
I said, no, he isn't.
Ja sam rekao, ne, nije.
He's calling you to become the pastor of this church so I can go to the mission.
On te je pozvao da budeš pastor ove crkve tako da ja mogu ići to misijsko
He said,
polje.
I'm sorry, preacher, but God's called me.
On je rekao, žao mi je propovjedniče, ali Bog me je
I
poslao.
said, what about becoming rich?
A što je u vezi onoga da postaneš bogat?
What about driving a sports car?
A što je u vezi onoga da voziš
What about
sportski
living
auto?
in a mansion?
Što je u vezi onoga da živiš u
Oh, no,
palači?
he said, I forget that. He said, God's called me to Chile, South America.
A on je rekao, ja sam sve to zaboravio, Bog me je pozvao u Čile, Južnu Ameriku.
So God interrupted my plans again, now he's interrupted his.
Bog je ponovo poremetio moje planove, a sad je poremetio i njegove.
Amen.
Now for over 30 years, he and his wife have served God in Chile, South
I
America.
sad već 30 godina on i njegova žena služe u Čile, u Južnu Ameriku.
They've built 6 churches and every one of them have a national pastor.
I oni su sagradili 6 crkava i svaka ima pastora.
I talked to him on Skype yesterday,
Ja sam s njim razgovarao preko Skype-a jučer,
making plans to go back to Chile.
radeći i planirajući kako ću opet ići u Čile.
See, these people thought everything was fine and then God interrupted their plan.
I ovi ljudi su mislili da je sve u redu i onda je Bog poremetio njihove planove.
By letting one of the members of the family die.
Tako da je doveo do toga da je jedan od člana obitelji umro.
And Jesus didn't bother to stop it.
I Isus to nije zaustavio.
To them, Jesus showed up too late.
I za njih Isus se je tamo vratio prekasno.
Sometimes we might find, where is God?
I ponekad mi možemo pitati i
We
reći,
need
pa
him
gdje je
right
Bog?
now.
On bi trebao sad biti ovdje.
But God is an on-time God.
Ali Bog je Bog koji uvijek dolazi na vrijeme.
Amen.
He's never late.
Nikada ne kasni.
He'll be there when it's time.
On dolazi kad je pravo vrijeme.
Amen.
And so, the crisis here gave Jesus an opportunity to teach another great truth.
I kriza ova je dovela do toga da ih je Isus mogao ponovo poučiti velikim istinama.
It was in the plan of God for Lazarus to die.
I bio je u Božjem planu da Lazar umre.
The words of Jesus that they would learn would mean that Jesus is the source of life.
I to što je taj plan da Lazar umre je bilo to da shvate da je Isus izvor života.
And Jesus is the source of
I
resurrection.
da je Isus izvor uskrsnuća.
Amen.
He that believeth in me, Jesus said, shall never die.
Isus je rekao, onaj koji u mene vjeruje nikada neće umrijeti.
Amen.
So Jesus was able to teach them that he gives physical life.
I Isus je bio u stanju da ih pouči da on daje fizički život.
And even if he takes it, he can give it back.
I čak kad ga i oduzme, može ga ponovo vratiti.
Amen.
And if he takes it and doesn't give it back,
I ako
he
ga uzme-
gives you resurrection and eternal life.
I on, ako ga uzme i ne vrati ga, on će dati uskrsnuće u vječni život.
Amen.
As you look at these family members
I kada gledate ove članove obitelji,
as first followers of Jesus,
kao prve Isusove sljedbenike,
you see that there was a love that Jesus had for this family.
i vidite ovu ljubav koju je Isus imao za tu obitelj.
He could have stayed somewhere else.
On je mogao odsjesti negdje drugdje.
But the fact is that any time Jesus preached in Jerusalem,
Ali činjenica je, svaki put kad je Isus propovjedao u Jeruzalemu,
the biblical evidence is that he never stayed in Jerusalem overnight.
biblijska činjenica je da nikada kroz noć nije ostao u Jeruzalemu.
He always, when the evening came on, went over there and stayed in Bethany in the house of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus.
I uvijek kad je večer došla, on bi otišao u Betaniju, u dom Marije, Marte i Lazara.
Or in another home called Simon the leper.
Ili u drugi dom koji se zove dom Šimuna Kožara.
The love that Jesus had was especially expressed by Mary. She knew Jesus loved that family.
I Marija je na poseban način pokazala svoju ljubav prema Isusu i ona je znala da on voli tu obitelj.
And so she spends some of her precious money
I ona je potrošila svoj dragocjeni novac
to buy a very expensive ointment
tako da je kupila vrlo skupocjenu pomast
and pour it on the feet and the hands of
i
Jesus.
izlila na noge i ruke Isusa.
And she was criticized for that,
I zbog toga je bila kritizirana.
rebuked by her, by Judas.
I bila je ukorena od strane Jude.
But then Jesus defended her actions
I onda je Isus branio njezino djelo
by saying she was preparing his body for burial.
tako da je rekao ona je pripremila moje tijelo za ukop.
That was news to everybody there.
To je bila novost za svakoga tamo.
Because no matter how many times Jesus told his disciples he was going to die, they never did accept that.
I koliko god je puta rekao Isus svojim učenicima da će umreti, oni to nikada nisu prihvatili.
But then Jesus said, what she did for me
tada
will be a memorial to her.
Tada Isus rekao ono što je ona učinila meni bit će na spomen njoj.
And almost 2,000 years later, we're still talking about it.
I čak 2000 godina nakon toga mi još uvijek o tome
Amen. Amen.
God kept his promise to her.
Bog je održao svoje obećanje koje je njoj dao.
She will be forever remembered as the one who helped prepare the body of Jesus for
Ona je
burial.
bila ona koja će se uvijek spominjati da je pripremila Isusovo tijelo za ukop.
This family learned that Jesus was the life
Ta obitelj je znala da je Isus život
and Jesus was the resurrection from the dead.
i da je Isus uskrsnuće iz smrti.
Amen.
So you and I need to just really examine our homes today in the light of these first followers.
I ti i ja bi trebali stvarno ispitati svoje domove u svjetlu ovih prvih sljedbenika.
Is Jesus welcome in your home today?
Je li Isus dobrodošao u tvome domu danas?
Are you doing things in your home that you know would please him?
I da li činiš stvari u svome domu za koje znaš da će ugoditi njemu?
Or would you have to start changing a whole lot of things?
Ili moraš promijeniti jako puno stvari?
Kids, put those things away.
I reći
Hide
djeca,
them. Jesus is coming.
maknite te stvari, Isus dolazi.
We can't let him see this.
Ne smijemo mu dopustiti da vidi to.
He already knows what you're doing in your home.
On već zna što ti radiš u svome domu.
You can't hide it from him.
Ne možeš to sakriti od njega.
My wife and I were visiting in the home of some of our friends years ago.
Moja žena i ja smo posjetili dom naših jednih prijatelja prije
They lived
godina.
on a farm and we were just like family to them.
I oni su živjeli na farmi i mi smo bili kao dio obitelji njihove.
And you had to turn off the main road and come down a long dirt road to get to their house.
I ti moraš skrenuti s ceste i ići po jednom prljavom dugom putu da bi došao do njenih kuće.
And you could sit in their house and see if somebody was coming for several minutes.
I ti bi mogao vidjeti iz njihovog doma ako bi neko dolazio nekoliko minuta, si znao da će za nekoliko
All of a
minuta
sudden
doći.
the lady of the house jumped up and she said, "Oh, so-and-so's coming. I gotta get ready."
I ona je skočila i rekla, dolaze, moram se pripremiti.
She got a broom and she started sweeping the room.
Ona je počela čistiti sobu.
And then she lifted the corner of a rug and she swept it all under the rug.
I onda je sve stavila ko što je počistila po tepih.
And I scared the life out of her.
I ja sam se plašio na smrt zbog toga.
I said, now as soon as they come in, I'm going over there and I'm going to lift that rug and show them what's underneath it.
Ja sam rekao, kada oni dođu, ja ću otvoriti to i pokazati što je ispod.
Oh, don't you dare do that.
Nemoj to napraviti.
She was trying to hide the dirt from some visitor that was about to come.
I ona je pokušala sakriti, znači, tu prljavštinu od tih posjetioca koji
I said, why didn't you hide it before we got here?
Zašto ti nisi to počistio prije nek smo mi došli k
Oh,
vama?
she said, you're just family.
On je rekao, pa vi ste obitelj.
Well, Jesus ought to be family.
Isus treba biti naša
Ought to be
obitelj.
a part of our family.
Treba biti dio naše obitelji.
Jesus ought to be loved by every member of our family.
I Isus treba biti voljen od strane svakog
He
člana
ought
naše
to be
obitelji.
welcome in our home.
I treba biti dobrodošao u naš
And
dom.
our homes ought to be a comfortable place for Jesus to come.
I naš dom treba biti ugodno mjesto za Isusa kada dođe.
One of the greatest experiences I've had out on the mission field,
Jedno od najvećih iskustava koje sam imao na
the
misijskom
first
polju,
time I went to Hungary.
Prvi puta kad sam išao u Mađarsku.
I was contacted by Brother Fraunhofer.
Ja sam bio kontaktiran od strane brata Fraunhofera.
Somehow he learned about me. I never knew him.
Nekako on čuo za mene, nisam niti
He was
znao.
a missionary over there in Budapest.
I on je bio misionar tamo u Budimpešti.
And he said, I would like you to come and have a pastor school and preach in our churches.
I on je rekao, ja bih volio da ti dođeš kod nas u crkvu i da tamo
So we set a date and I arrived over there in Budapest.
I mi smo odredili datum, ja sam se tamo
I had
spustio u
no
Budimpešti.
knowledge of that family.
Nisam ni imao pojma o toj obitelji.
And when I got there, he said, now I better warn you before we get to the house. We have 13 children.
I on mi je rekao, prije nego dođeš u naš dom, ja te moram upozoriti, mi imamo 13 djece. Amen.
So we went to the house, and when we opened the door,
I onda kad smo došli do kuće,
first thing I saw
prva stvar koju sam vidio,
was a line of tennis shoes.
vidio sam tamo jednu liniju tenisica.
15 pairs.
15 pari.
Then another line of dress shoes.
I onda tamo druga linija, tu su bile kućne
I
papuče.
got my camera out right away and took a picture. That was like going in the shoe store.
I ja sam uzmeo svoju fotoaparat i odmah sam to slikao kao da sam u dućanu s cipelama.
Well, they lived upstairs and the church was downstairs.
I oni su živjeli gore, crkva je bila dole.
And downstairs there was a little apartment where I could stay.
I dole je bilo jedan apartman gdje sam ja ostao.
So the first night I'm organizing my things in my room.
I prvi noć sam ja to organizirao, moje stvari i prostor si
And a
tamo.
knock came on my door.
I neko je pokucao na
It's
moje
one of the
vrata.
boys.
I jedan od
He
dječaka.
said, my father wants to invite you to come upstairs to our family altar.
I on je rekao, moj otac vas poziva da odete gore, da imamo tamo obiteljski oltar.
So I went up there. It was like a church service.
I otišao sam gore, to je bilo poput crkvenog bogoslužja.
There's already 15 of them there.
Već ih je bilo 15 tamo.
With me, there was 60.
I onda sam ja došao, bilo si 16.
And one of the boys led the singing.
I onda jedan od dječaka
One of
vodio
the
pjevanje.
girls played the piano.
Jedna od djevojka je svirala pijano.
There was enough people there to take up an offering.
I bilo je dovoljno ljudi tamo da uzmemo i kolektu.
Then the father got his Bible out and said, we're going to read a passage of scripture.
I onda je otac tamo izvodio Bibliju i rekao, sad ćemo pročitati odjeljak iz pisma.
He read verse 1.
Jedan je pročitao stih
His
1.
wife read verse 2.
Njegova, u stvari on je pročitao.
Next child, the next verse.
I onda on je pročitao stih 1,
All
žena
around
stih
the
2,
circle.
treći 3 i tako sve išlo u krug.
Till it came to the little girl sitting next to me. She couldn't read, so they skipped her.
I onda došli su do jedne male djevojčice koja nije mogla čitati, onda su nju preskočili.
And I read. And we did that all the way through that chapter.
I onda smo to tako išli sve okolo po cijelom poglavlju.
Then he taught them a Bible lesson.
I onda ih je on poučavao biblijsku lekciju.
After that, he said, now we're going to pray.
I onda je rekao, nakon toga idemo moliti.
Same thing. He prayed
I onda ista stvar, on
Wife
molio,
prayed.
žena molila,
all the way around the circle. All of
sve
them prayed.
okolo po krugu su molili.
Except the little blonde girl, she could pray.
Osim te jedne male plavuše, ona nije mogla
She
moliti.
just sat there and listened.
Ona je samo tamo stala.
And then I closed in prayer.
I onda sam ja to završio tamo moliti.
Every night they invited me before bedtime
I oni su me
to come to that family altar service.
I su me zvali svaku večer prije spavanja da dođem gore na taj obiteljsko bogoslužje.
And I thought to myself, this is a home where Jesus is welcome.
I ja sam onda razmišljao, to je dom u kome Isus dobrodošao.
Amen.
And at the close of every day,
I tako
they
su
meet
oni
with Jesus.
završavali svaki dan s Isusom.
What a tremendous thing that one of these families, first followers of Jesus, welcomed him to their home.
I prekrasno je kako jedna od tih prvih Isusovih sljedbenici, ta obitelj su uvijek, gdje je Isus uvijek bio dobrodošao u njihovom
Not
domu.
only into their hearts,
Ne samo u njihova srca,
but he was welcome in their home.
nego je on bio dobrodošao u njihov dom.
Amen. Amen.